Today's first reading comes from the great prophet Jonah. When you get home sometime this week, read it. It's only 4 chapters. You can read the book of Jonah in about 15 minutes. Very, very short book, but one of the most famous and well-known stories that we know. Kind of in a nutshell, but I'll leave out the ending of it. Okay? Remember what happens. God calls Jonah and tells him, go to the Ninevites, preach repentance. Jonah wants no part of it. Matter of fact, he gets in a boat, sails in another direction until there's a violent storm. So violent that they end up throwing Jonah overboard. Okay, and he's swallowed up by this big fish. And the story goes he's in the belly of the big fish for 3 days until he's finally spit out up on shore, and stinky and smelly, he goes to Nineveh and he preaches. Now, the end of the story, everyone, you read that, okay? Really read it, because in there it talks about the response of God and how Jonah feels about it. All right? That's up to you. All right? But I want to answer this question for you today. Why is Jonah so against Nineveh? What about Nineveh? He just doesn't like. Nineveh, everyone, was the capital of the Assyrians. The Assyrians, everyone, were a terribly ruthless, warlike, mean people. And by the time the book of Jonah is written, the Assyrians have already conquered the northern kingdom of Israel. There's a northern and southern. Northern is already under the hands then of the Assyrians. So the Israelite people already know what these Assyrians like, how ruthless they are, how warlike, bloodthirsty they are. And so you can understand Jonah now saying, repentance. Get it right, God. Fire, brimstone, judgment, condemnation. That's what you should do. Jonah was a tough egg to crack. Let's go to the gospel now and hear how it goes with these guys. Okay, here we are. Jesus goes up to Peter and Andrew, and what does he say? Follow me. Not a complaint. They leave it all and they follow him. It works so good, everyone. He says, let's try it again. James and John, follow me. Not a complaint. They leave everything and they follow him. Jesus is a master. Think ahead now to Matthew. He goes up to Matthew at the customs post and he says, Matthew, you follow me. Matthew leaves everything and he follows Jesus. Completely opposite, everybody, to Jonah. Okay? But it doesn't matter here, everyone. Same point. Jonah, Peter, Andrew, James, John, Matthew. They're all asked to do one thing, to leave it all behind for the sake of preaching. To leave it all. Everything is everything, everyone. And the question I'm going to leave you with on this point is this. Are you willing to put it all behind for the sake of Jesus Christ? Everything. Okay? I'll leave that question to you because I want to go in a little different direction with that today. It doesn't matter, everyone. Jonah, Peter, Andrew, James, John, Matthew, they were called. And as I told those little children today as they were leaving, they're called, and you and I are called too. All right? And what I want to share with you kind of is an inspiring story for you. This isn't about priests, deacons, bishops. This is a story about the inspiration of normal, everyday Christians living their faith. And how much meaning you have on the life of people. All right, inspirational story today. Here we go. By the time Jesus comes along, the Assyrians are already out. And all of a sudden, Israel now is conquered by another empire, and it is the Romans. And if there was one thing the Romans feared more than war, it was a massive epidemic. Great example for us today is Ebola. Imagine if Ebola struck everyone and we had nothing to throw at it. What could happen? Okay, so how did it work in the Roman Empire when an epidemic broke out? Well, everyone, in towns, villages, and cities, if you were the wealthy, you left town. And because you were the wealthy and you had the money, The doctors followed you out of town. It's a horrible sight, everyone. Friends abandoned friends, neighbors abandoned neighbors, parents abandoned children, children abandoned parents. What about the religious, the pagan religious at that time? They had nothing to say. They had nothing to talk about when it comes to suffering, nothing to talk about when it comes to death. So they took their money and they ran to. Out in the country they go. So if you actually can envision this, you walk down the street, all you saw down the streets with an epidemic was death. And the dying thrown out in the streets, and everyone else locked behind doors, scared to death. Scared. How serious were they? Two worth noting in 165 and 251, 1/4 to 1/3 of the Roman Empire ceased to live. Killed by an epidemic. It's a lot of people. Could you imagine that, everyone, if we did that? That would mean this bunch is gone. The next epidemic, gone. Meanwhile, unbelievably, Christianity in this Roman Empire, it grew. How did that happen? The Christians, you, decided we're not leaving. We're going to take care of our sick. We're going to take care of the dying. We're even going to help out the Romans. Those who are still here, we're going to take care of their sick. We're going to take care of their dying. And imagine the inspiration that would have been to the Romans. After all, what did their culture offer? Nothing. They all left. Christianity added something different. There's meaning, there's purpose to suffering, to life, and to death. And guess what you would have done if you survived the epidemic? You were going to say, I want what they've got. So you became Christian. You wanted what they had. Purpose, meaning, joy, happiness, and life. So here's the way the pendulum looked. Romans, whoosh, same time Christianity. You know why? All because of you. All because of you. This isn't about priests, bishops, deacons. It's because of your belief in Jesus Christ. It's a story of the people, by the people, and for the people. So what I'm sharing with you today, everyone, yes, that was centuries ago, but let me tell you this. People watch you. They may not say it. It may be a quiet witness, but they watch you. They want to see something different. And that's why we come here today, everyone. Maybe to be challenged in that. Maybe to be fed in that. Maybe be inspired by that. But we come here today, everyone. We listen. We are fed. And we are sent forth to witness to the power of Jesus Christ. People, our country today needs witness. Okay, there's an epidemic in the world today. And you know what it is? A lack of religion. We need to witness to that. Okay? Look at what it did centuries ago and believe what it can do today. Witness. Okay? Pray for that in your life. Pray that I be a witness to in my life as we continue to preach the power of Jesus Christ.